Oh no, time to work on a long neck. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to King Bespoke Creations. Yes, we're going to work on this bass guitar, big through neck thing. I can't work on the body just yet because I'm waiting for some pickups to arrive, and because it's a 5-string bass, I expect them to be a little bit wider than here, but I'm not exactly sure, so I might have to put some extensions on here. Leave a comment down below if you think it's going to make a difference that the pickups get attached to this material rather than the body material. The body will be a basswood, whereas this oak and maple is obviously very hard. Let me know if you think it makes a difference. I think it might do. So today we're going to be working on the neck, predominantly thinking about truss rods and fretboards. So we're going to have a wheel adjustment truss rod at the body end. That's the first time I've done one of these. And reading up, it's making sure, as we usually do, that the truss rod goes right up to where the nut is. So the truss rod really does need to sit there. So make sure you've got enough length to poke out the other end. If the truss rod is a little bit too short, we either end up heading into the fretboard, which on this multi-angle isn't going to fit in between those frets. That's going to be really awkward. Or it tends to be that the end of the truss rod fits around here, which at the first fret, that's not really doing its job properly. So we really need to make sure that that's going right up against there. So it's going to sit underneath the nut, and we have enough space there. So we've marked off where the 21st fret is. We might just be able to scrape 22 frets in there. We'll see when it's all routed out and what we've got. So I'm playing with something like that distance there. Now we can make that a bit more accurate later on, but that will pretty much be the nut at that point. So marking off exactly where central is, the trusty old center finding ruler. We do love these things. If you haven't got one, I'll put a link in the description to get your hands on one, because they are fantastic things. And then marking off the ends. So I'm going to go from there. Well, I'm going to go right the way up to the end of this wheel here. Obviously that's going to need a trench digging out that way as well as that way, and there's usually extra thickness to sort out at this point as well, but one single route all the way through from one end to the other will do for now. So I've got a 6mm bit in here, and I've locked this off at the same depth as the full depth of the truss rod. Does that mean I'm going to cut this out in one full swoop? No. Never ever do that. Never go through all in one go. You're just asking for trouble, and if nothing else, you'll just burn out your router bits and put more strain on your power routers than you would ever need to. Instead, we lock off at the lowest point down here. So do that. Tighten that up so we know we can't go any deeper than that. Then we can release the router and turn this so that it's going to do incrementally deeper cuts. Now on this router, each one of these notches is about 3mm. So we just do a 3mm swoop each time, knowing that it's going to be light and breezy, and it's not going to dig, rip, do anything super nasty. So the next thing is to set this fence. Make sure that the router is perfectly set in line, tighten everything off, dead easy to just run it up and down. To make sure that I don't route too far, this is the end of my truss rod channel that I need here. So what I've done is I've actually set the plank in the vise so that the router comes up, butts up against there. We could have clamped a piece of wood on, but while I've got something in the way, I might as well use it. So that's set to this distance inside here. Now at this end, it's a little bit trickier because I only have a tiny little piece on the end. So what I'm going to do is just take a little block of wood, a small dab of super glue, okay, just a drop, and I'm going to glue that on so that becomes my stop at this end. Now super glue is a wonderful thing because it holds things nice and ready, but one tap on the end of there when we're finished and it'll come off, and I'm not too bothered if it leaves a little bit of a mark. because at this headstock end things are going to be sanded away and moved a little bit differently anyway. Now, you may have seen me cut truss rod channels just with a chisel before, which doesn't need all of this setup. It's a wonderful thing. But for a 620mm long truss rod, I just want to save myself from repetitive strain injury. So I'm going to use this. And while I've got this straight edge, uncut neck, it's just dead easy to use a fence and a router. So that's what I'm going to do. So take it slow. Make sure that your fence is pushed up against here all the time. So there's no slippage, no extra wandering at any point. Take your time, take it steady, little bit as you go. Right, now with all that routing done, it only took 3 passes, but we got there. But even with using the router, you can see it leaves round ends, and that's where the end actually needs to be. So we still need to get the chisel out anyway to square that end off. And this side, you can see this section gets a little bit wider, so we need to take that off. And then we need to sort out whatever's going to happen for this wheel section at the end of here. So just chiseling that a little bit wider and a fraction deeper as well gets that truss rod beautifully sat among there. And we can knock this off like that. So now we've just got the wheel bit to fit. So we can see the wheel's going to go onto that hex shaft. It's going to be pretty much the full width of that maple section. So then if we line the truss rod up with just the edge of the wood, you can see it's almost the full depth of that wheel. It's a little bit pokes out the top. That's what we've got to cut out of this section here. And I'm going to use this Dremel router instead of the great big one, just because I think it's going to be easier to use to go across that nice little delicate area there. Wheel adjustment truss rod in. So is a wheel adjustment truss rod any more difficult or easier to install than a standard truss rod with the adjustment up there? I actually think it's easier. It's just a straight run. We always have to widen off at this end anyway. The little cut this side wasn't particularly difficult. Take your time with a small router bit. It still works really nicely. It means we don't have the really scary drill hole up here that we'd normally have to do to find that hex nut adjustment section. Always the scariest bit of a guitar build for me. So I think I probably will use some wheel adjustments again on another build. So in the next video, I'll be looking at the fretboards. I'm going to cut that from a big blank, cut it down to size, and I need to think about scale lengths for measuring out where those frets are going to go. Now this is the tricky bit, because we can find scale length rulers like this for guitars. This is the crimson one with 4 different scale lengths on. To try and find those for bass guitars, they're like hen's teeth, certainly over here in England. So I'm going to make one. So check out the next video. I'm going to be making a scale length ruler specifically for this bass, but it means then I've got that forever, so we can use that and make another one again and again and again. If you fancy having a go at a standard neck build, definitely check out this video. It's pretty awesome if I say so myself. Standard truss rod, but a complete independent neck, full build. check out that video. And then click the subscription button, ring that little notification bell thingamajig, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, sharpen your tools. I'll see you soon. God bless.